Most hiring advice is either outdated or it's written by people who don't actually run companies. You've heard it all before. Post on job boards, offer competitive salaries, look for culture fit. None of that guarantees performance. The truth, the difference between average teams and elite teams isn't luck, it's systems. In this video, I'm going to give you the best hiring tips I've learned after personally placing over 2,500 professionals across 40 plus countries. This is not theory. This is not HR fluff. These are real world strategies that help you hire people who actually perform, stay, and scale your business. And stick around because at the end, I'll share the one hiring habit that quietly destroys more businesses than bad sales or bad marketing could ever. Let's get into it. To build a business that scales, you have to stop looking at employees as a single category. You need to understand the hierarchy of value. Every person you hire fits into one of 5 distinct levels, and the levels you choose determines whether your business reaches its peak or hits a permanent ceiling. Here's the first mistake most founders make. They hire for a title instead of a result. They say, I need a VA, I need a marketer, I need a salesperson. That attracts people who want a job, not people who want ownership. Instead, you want to define what number this role moves, what problems they solve, what outcomes they own. For example, instead of a social media manager, increase inbound leads by 20% in 90 days. Instead of saying just a salesperson, instead say closing 20 to 30 new clients per month and bringing in $70,000 to $100,000 in cash collected. You want to be very specific. Now, of course, the titles are good when you're looking for a specific role, but when you want to start defining the actual position and you want to get nitty and gritty on the job description, it must be so descriptive that it almost feels like whenever this person is reading the job description, it is literally describing them. And remember, money talks. So if you're offering a great salary, you're offering great incentives, and you're just doing more than others, well, you're going to attract everybody. But the problem here is you don't want to attract everybody. You don't want to be the guy that attracts every single girl in the world. You want to be a guy that attracts the right girl or the right women, right? If you attract every single woman or every single employee, you're probably going to run in circles and go a little bit crazy. So when you define outcomes clearly, A players lean in, task takers lean out. That's tip number 1. But here's the problem. Knowing these levels exist doesn't help if your current process is literally designed to repel the top tiers. In the next section, we're gonna look at the hiring filters that are keeping you stuck with level 1 talent. So it's time for hard truth. Your current hiring system is working exactly as it was designed. If you're stuck with task followers, it's because your job post, your interviews, your pay structure, or whatever it may be, are acting as the filter that only lets average through. We need to tear that down so that it filters to see exactly what's going wrong. Interviews lie, skill tests don't. The best hiring tip I can give you is this: never ever hire without seeing them do the job first. And when creating a skill test, it cannot be a random skill test. It needs to be something that aligns with the current day-to-day. It needs to be something that is literally needed to be done right now. For example, if I was hiring an assistant, I would look at the assistant work that I have right now and I would create a skill test for them to complete it, because I want to assume that you can do the job, not assume that you can do some weird random job. That makes much more sense. You know what I mean? Another example for an assistant is like you want to give them a messy inbox and tone guide. If it's sales, maybe run a live role play. Here's how I structure closer interviews. The first one, it's a very structured interview that gets to know them, gets to know us, and essentially they're answering questions, and I see how quickly they think on their feet, and also make sure that they're a good culture fit, where they're trying to head to, what are their goals, what are the company goals, and ultimately align with them. Because if that's not aligned, it doesn't matter how good they are on the role play. And then the next interview I do with them is the role play. I give them a script, I tell them to study the script, and then we schedule the second interview, normally with me and my founder, or sometimes just me, and then we go on the script. And I want to see how they would sell my service or product if they started tomorrow. Now, of course, a lot of people need training. They're not going to ever take calls within the first day of being here, but I need to see how fast I need to ramp you up. I also need to see how much training you need. Some people need a lot more training than others. So this gives me the full picture of understanding where's the gaps. Because if I don't know where the gaps are, the interviews doesn't really matter, right? And the skill tests don't really matter, right? I need to know the gaps. The goal with the interview, the goal with the skill test, the goal with the personality test is to see where the gaps are, is to see whether we're aligned and to ultimately make the right call the first time. There's nothing more frustrating and annoying than having to hire for the same position multiple times. We've had a few clients that have had to deal with that. I have had to deal with that internally. And now over the last 2-3 years, we rarely make that mistake. Because once you stop the leak in your hiring process, you need a new blueprint to replace it. Now let's look at the exact framework we use at Remote Latinos to find champions, A players that most founders don't even believe exist. A champion hire is only as good as the environment they landed. You can hire a level 5 multiplier, but if you drop them into a level 1 culture, they will leave within a month and probably faster than that. This is how you build an intentional system that turns a remote team into a high performance machine. Charisma gets hired, structure keeps people. Most founders lose good employees because they have no 30, 60, 90 game plan, no weekly KPI check-ins, no clarity around expectations, no growth roadmaps, no accountability, and no culture that keeps A players around. A players crave structure. They don't want chaos. They want clarity. They want to see how can they get to the next level? How can this company get to the next level? They're aware that in order for them to go from their current pay to the next pay, the company has to grow. A players think like partners. That's what makes them different. That's why you're not always gonna hire A players. If you hire 20 people and all of them are A players, you're gonna have some turnover if you don't significantly grow, because their fuse is a lot smaller because they wanna earn more, they wanna level up, they wanna move up in their career, and they wanna ultimately achieve everything that is needed because they're very, very motivated. One of the best hiring tips no one talks about is this: retention starts before the offer letter. If you don't have clear systems ready, do not hire yet. Building the culture is the foundation, but applying it with Elon Musk level precision is the secret to true leverage. Let's look at how you can take these high level principles and turn them into daily operations. Look, most founders are trapped in hiring hell, wasting dozens of hours on job boards only to hire people who quit within a couple weeks or a month. With Remote Latinos, we end that cycle by acting as your elite headhunting arm. I like to call us your recruiting partner. We tap into our exclusive database of over 50,000 pre-screened professionals to find high ownership A players for roles like lead managers, closers, executive assistants, video editors, media buyers, and many more. We handle the sourcing, vetting, negotiation, and the entire communication so that all you need to do is review the candidates that we present, which will only be a few, and schedule interviews with the people that match exactly what you're looking for. Because we deliver the talent that is in your exact time zone that integrates into your team in as little as 10 days and stops you from gambling on resumes and start buying back your time. You want to visit remotelatinos.com or comment higher below so I can find your next A player. Now, there is a silent killer in businesses that has nothing to do with the market or your product. It's desperation. When you are overwhelmed, stressed, and overall not in the right mindset to hire somebody, you end up rushing the process, and a rushed hire is almost always an expensive mistake. The best founders do not ever hire out of panic. They hire out of strategy. See, when you hire from a place of panic, you instinctively lower your standard just to get a body in the chair. But at Remote Latinos, we've seen that true scale comes from building a proactive pipeline. We maintain a database of over 50,000 pre-screened candidates specifically so our clients and partners never have to settle for quote unquote good enough. Good enough is not good enough. It means that you've lowered your standards. It means that whatever was really good and great, you have now taken a significant step back because you need a body. And I would rather you hire the right person and spend an extra few days or even an extra week rather than go fast and hire someone and then stay with that person for several weeks and several months, and they should have never been there in the first place. The biggest waste of time, the biggest waste of energy, the biggest waste in most times that you feel lost and confused about a business is when you hire people that should not be in your business, but they're very nice and they're very sweet and they get along with everybody. Those are the people that will drive you crazy because you like them. And as long as you're not a heartless Nazi, you're probably not gonna wanna fire them immediately. And maybe you are, that does not make you a Nazi. This one shift from reactive to proactive hiring will upgrade your team quality overnight. If you can master the timing of your hires, the rest of the frameworks fall into place. Let's bring everything together so you can walk away with a clear path to total leverage. So here's the truth. Hiring is not complicated. It's discipline. If you define clear outcomes, test before you trust, and build a solid structure, you will not have to hire out of desperation. You will hire people who will help you win from day one. When you stop settling for task followers and start hiring champions, A players from Latin America, everything changes. Your revenue increases as your team manages. Your KPI will continuously increase because you're growing and you're scaling and you're taking it to the next level. And most importantly, your stress will drop because you have loyal, bilingual professionals in your time zone who actually own the result. And most importantly, on top of that, you get your time back, you grow the business, you have less stress, and you finally are able to take your business to the next level. This is the definition of leverage. So if these hiring tips gave you a new perspective on growth, I wanted to give you the exact map to. I've put together a remote hiring blueprint that you can download for free. It's the same internal checklist my team uses to vet 50,000 candidates in our database to ensure they are the top 1% of elite talent. You can find the link in the description to grab your copy right now. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start building a high performance team today, let us handle the heavy lifting for you. We've already partnered with well over 1,000 companies, multiple 7- and 8-figure companies that have been able to grow profitably, and we can do the same thing for you. So head over to RamonLatinos.com or comment higher below so we can help you build the dream team that actually wins. I'll see you there. Os.